Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform, where parents can come and tell their maniacal stories. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. I'm having lighting issues. Okay. Sorry again. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome to Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform, where parents can come and tell their maniacal stories about CPS and the issues that they've been having in their life. And before I start, I usually take a moment of silence for, the people that are not here with us anymore, the ones that keep coming back and those that are still sick and suffering. So let's take a few moments of silence. So again, I am Miss KK and this is Manic Mondays with Miss K every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My lighting, guys, I'm sorry. And 5 p.m. Pacific Time. But before I get into today's topic, Mr. Davis's birthday is today. So we want to wish Attorney Vincent Davis a very special happy birthday. He is an amazing man. I haven't met him in person yet, but I cannot wait for the day. And I hope your day is totally blessed and not too stressful. And just be safe and just be you. And I thank you again for giving me that voice. So today, I had planned on having a guest. I'm not too sure if she was going to come on, but she's basically another mom that has been fixing affidavits, um, kind of like, I guess you could say anything that was inconsistent, anything that could possibly, pose an issue with you getting your children back or anything, relating to reunification or civil rights violations, uh, constitutional violations, parental violations, medical violations. And I sent her one, I want to say one conversation I had with the foster care agency and, the foster parent in regards to things that are not allowed by a foster parent that is not a kinship relative, that is not a family friend. If she or he is just a licensed foster parent, there are 10 things in the state of New York that foster parents cannot do. The very first one is foster parents cannot cut a child's hair, they cannot alter their appearance, they cannot pierce their ears, their nose, their face, any part of their body. They cannot put them on social media as a safety issue. They cannot make decisions about therapeutic or medical care. They cannot impose issues with religion. They cannot basically remove your parenting time. And most of all, they're not supposed to be able to take your children out of the state without your permission. But they have this law. I'm not sure if it's a law or if it's a statute, but it's called the Prudent Parent Standard, where a foster care agency or CPS can override your decisions. Hi, Betty. You want to come on? Come on, come live. So, anything that, a foster parent has overstepped, the guidelines or the policies. And Grace, do me a favor. Can you let Betty in, please? Thank you. So basically, I just want to say it's been rough. Like, you know, um, when CPS first started out with this case alone, it was it was I had a target on my back from the very beginning. So the things that certain foster parents cannot do without kinship or without, you know, um, I want to say liberal, basically liberalness. It's giving you the access to pick and choose what things that you would allow this foster parent or a CPS worker to do when you're not present. And although I do know, the CPS worker, the foster care agency is very well known to me because they were the initial foster care agency almost 12 years ago that wanted my sister, who was the original foster parent, to adopt from the very beginning. Excuse me one moment. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulty, medication delivery. But I'm waiting for Betty Joe, my other sister from another mother from the other coast. But while, she gets herself prepared to come on, again, this foster care agency was an agency that has had, a conflict of interest from almost 12 years ago when they initially stepped in and wanted my sister, who was the original foster parent, and wanted her to just basically disregard everything that I was trying to work for at that time. You know, um, Trying to maintain my treatment, my sobriety, my mental health, and still trying to get used to being a brand new mom. So with that, hi Betty, I missed you.
I missed you.
So I'm just basically just giving them the rundown of the foster parent, the foster care agency, and what they've been doing to me as far as bias. Now I've asked for this specific foster care agency. There was an issue where it became physically combative at the beginning, which was almost 12 years ago, where the original social worker was who was now in a place of authority or supervision up until November 1st of last year. So now that I've asked for a new case planning team or a new venue of placement for my children, based on the visits not happening, I haven't seen my children since last year April. My ex-husband gaining access with no parentage established, and then the new foster care agents, the new foster care planning team that has come on just recently has no history of me, only what they've read from the delivered service logs, and evidently they didn't read too much because they still don't know what they need to know since the April 30th court date. So I'm like, we're supposed to have family didactic therapy 14 days after the court proceeding. The next court proceeding is July 17th. So it's like, if they're not implementing the orders or the services that could technically reunify us or mend the toxicity of the separation that CPS and the foster care agency caused, they have never been helpful. They have never been supportive. Anything that I advocate for in the best interest of my children has been disregarded to the point where now it seems to be a legal issue where both my children were receiving therapeutic services for the last 2 years, literally 714 days of mental health services in two different locations, but under the same center illegally. This foster parent filled out the intake packets and signed the releases, although she is not legally authorized to do those things. So my children have been seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist. Well, my younger one has been seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist in one facility. And then my other child is in another location for the same facility, but she only receives medication management because the foster care agency initiated a therapist outside. It's an outside vendor that they assigned without my consent, without a court order, with nothing on the court action summary. And again, that is illegal. So now that these things have been acknowledged by the present case planning team, they want to give me a meeting with leadership, Betty. Once I said legal, it was like, therapeutic care. The Office of Mental Health does not like violations of ethics, Hippocratic oaths, and overall constitutional rights, civil rights. So they've changed my children's psychotropic medication more than once to the point where it's given my children an imbalance to make them aggressive and combative. They've never been like that.
Mm-mm.
So I mean,
Just like me, my civil rights have been stepped all over.
I know. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I don't want to commandeer the show.
Well,
I mean, that would be great.
we had court on June,
First, wait. You got to go back. You got to go back. You have to tell them about
from the whole
the
beginning.
the no, not the
My
beginning. From when
brother
you took
and
gumdrop back. Exactly.
okay, I got my niece back with me and then turn around within not even 24 hours. They requested me to go back to Nebraska to return my niece to the foster care agency in Nebraska after the judge already had placed her with me.
Right.
And
From
we
the
are in the
ICPC, right?
processing of adoption.
The ICPC, right?
The
The
ICPC,
emergency,
yes.
right? Okay.
Emergency ICPC. Everything was going great, everything was going fine. And then turn around, I was told that I have 24 hours to return her. I returned her, and I'm still fighting from this day forward for my niece.
Did they provide you any financial support to or
No,
from the look?
nope. I did it all by myself, and it cost me almost $1,300.
Because
Just
you're in
one
Montana
way.
and had to go to Nebraska, right?
Correct, yes. And then we just had a recent court hearing in June
Talk about
for
that. That's
TPR,
interesting. That's interesting. I
and
want to
the
hear about that.
TPR court hearing, I was subpoenaed to go to court by my brother's attorney. He subpoenaed me to go to court. No funding was provided to me, no housing was provided to me. I had to stay in my own hotel room. I had no visitation, zero,
With
zero
your niece the
visitation
whole
with my
time.
niece. And I
And
was
she's with a whole
told,
nother foster parent, a whole nother foster care, whole nother foster family, right?
yes. So I raised a stink about my niece being in a foster home where she's not getting her religion.
Right.
She's in a different color home. She's in a different race. And I was to the point where I did not want her there. I didn't feel that she was safe there
On what grounds? Like, why would you feel that way? I mean, based on
because she was
them.
being abused. She had scratches all over her. She had bruises on her. There was no report at all until I
Did
made
you
the
did you make a
report.
report? Okay.
I made the report to DPHS hotline, the abuse and neglect
That's the one we
hotline.
talked about, right? That's the one you called
Yes.
me and we talked about. Okay.
Yep. And so when I called them and I told them, hey, I had custody of my niece, I explained the whole case to them. Turn around, the caseworker emailed my brother's attorney. He turned around and forwarded me the email stating that I need to stay my nose out of this business because it doesn't belong to me. Well, this is
But didn't the
family.
attorney, didn't your brother's, I'm sorry to cut you off, hon, but didn't your brother's attorney subpoena you? Tell him what side you were supposed to be testifying on.
I was supposed to be testifying on the state side. They wanted me
Exactly.
to testify against my
Against her
brother.
brother, guys. Against her brother. But
And
that
that
was
wasn't
his
going to happen
attorney.
because I'm for my niece. I'm not trying to support her being in the foster home that she's in.
Right. So is there
Even
like,
though
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm just like excited
after
because I'm
me
like, I got to
raising a
hear it
stink
first
in the
already.
courts, I asked for my niece to be placed into a different home because I felt that she was being abused and neglected. And so they turned around and did an investigation on the foster mother. The foster mother ended up losing her license to foster any children, period. She ended up losing everything to do with my niece. Then they turned around and placed her into a new home with the same race that she's with now.
So African American. African American or oh, we lost Betty. Well, we lost her. I guess she'll be back. But I don't know if she wanted me to talk a little bit about it, but her niece was actually in an African American foster home. And as you can see, Betty is, Caucasian. And there's not to say that race makes a difference when it comes to fostering children, but it does. Based on culture, based on, upbringing, based on opportunities, and based on, knowledge. Not saying that, races of different nationalities or ethnicities do not have knowledge about other races or, other cultures, but I just don't feel like an African American child adopted by a Caucasian family will get the Black history information that is afforded to them if they grew up in a indigenous household. We'll just say that because everyone that has black, brown, or beige skin, I mean, I'm sorry, brown, beige, or tan skin, it's not always African American. So we'll just say indigenous because that means any person of color, regardless of hue of melanin. So, let me go back to as far as with like Betty's case. The state wanted her to testify against her brother in reference to terminating his rights. They wanted her to speak against him to have his rights terminated. And to my knowledge, her brother was only receiving 30-minute visits via Zoom 3 times a week. And, once he completed, his service plan or was, close to completing the service plan, it was like, CPS threw more things on top. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like as a parent, advocating for children or another, parent, if they're doing the right thing, I feel like that CPS just takes whatever history, whatever downfalls you may have. They do not support you. They do not provide resources. They do not provide supports. And just, with this last case, it's been a basic tug of war back and forth. I never use my condition as leverage to gain brownie points, flowers, sympathy, pity, or whatever adverb or verb adverb or adjective you decide to put me alongside. That's the best way to explain it. But I do want to say my daughter's birthday was last Monday, and it was very hard for me. Very hard. I ended up breaking down on the show, and I'm not really an emotional person, but to see my child on social media around the foster parents, grandchildren, and I guess other neighborhood children, it is very hurtful that a 10-minute ride for me to say happy birthday was too much for you. But if I come that way, I'll be accused or, reportedly or allegedly traumatizing the kids, harassing the foster parent, or threatening the foster parent. I'm not myself. I'm not my old self like I used to be. I used to be very, very combative, very hands on, and very I don't care. So, I thought Betty was coming back on, but she said her phone is messed up. But I say that to say this. Any parent that is okay with keeping another parent away from their children, regardless of, how they feel about the person, if they know as a foster parent or a CPS worker that you have not been negligent because they know you outside of this case, And although me and the foster parent, myself and the foster parent are not friends, I know of her and she knows how I am when it comes to, involvement with my children. And I really think I'm being poked like a bear. Like you just constantly poking the bear in different spots until the bear just takes his hand and just, takes his whole palm and just mauls you, knocks you all over the place. And I don't understand how this amount of psychological warfare, the amount of triggering, the amount of PTSD that these agencies, social workers, foster parents, and entities within the whole CPS chain of command, such as the Office of Family and Children Services, the I want to say the Administration for Children's Services Parent Advocacy, office. We also have the commissioner to the children's commissioner, the commissioner to children's services. We also have the state registry. We have the appellate courts. We have dependents. Like it's a lot of things that follow a chain of command when it comes to making reports and investigations heard all the way to the end. Because we as parents seem to get discouraged, frustrated, overwhelmed, and just disappointed or just depressed. Like it's very it's very very hard to sit by and allow somebody to tell you as the mother or the father, and I can't say the father's birth kids, but to the mothers that birth these children, just because you bore a child does not mean you have the right to be a mom or a dad. And I'm not saying that as I'm trying to blame somebody or implement fault. No, we as parents have a tendency to shift the blame, but ultimately it is our fault from the very beginning. Our fault for allowing certain things to happen or certain access to be given, whether it's to school personnel, church, medical personnel, or just neighbors and acquaintances that you may see, along the week, the month, the day. And these people have a either miscommunication, a misguided, you know, perception of you, or honestly just don't care. And when people tend to jump on the bandwagon and add things to something that they really are not knowledgeable of or informed of, it is very insulting as a person with, legal knowledge, extreme legal knowledge, and the help of Mr. Davis. Again, happy birthday. But Mr. Davis and, all of his platforms, Miss G, Cynthia, Miss Bob, Mike Bartz, Darren White, like all of these people, Miss Latrika, and of course, Miss G is the best, the best, the best, the best. And, she was the first one to make contact with me. So, I've been a loyal, willing participant with open ears and eyes to gain the knowledge I need to fight for my children. Innocence is worth it. I say it all the time. Never stop fighting, parents. Innocence is worth it. We have to get up and fight safely, productively, and progressively on a daily. Anytime you have idle time, that is time to reach out to these agencies that, fail to allow us to have certain things that we are entitled to, whether it's court ordered, whether it is constitutionally written, or whether it's just our basic medical or parental right. These people have to learn that, laws and amendments and rights and bills are passed for specific reasons in different departments or in different legislative, statures. You cannot tell me that if myself as a licensed attorney, if I say I know that is case law for a fact and pull up the case law and you have a tangible piece of paper, a tangible document in your hand, you are literally looking at this document, this affidavit, petition, writ, or motion in any way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it's case law or whether it's things that need to be heard, things that need to be filed, or things that are ultimately just um, part of evidentiary rule, whether it's exculpatory evidence, part of discovery, or just exhibits to be shown. Because, like Mr. Davis says, you cannot go to court and just talk. You have to have tangible, tangible proof, emails, documents, transcriptions, videos, photos. You know, in New York, you can't use character testimony unless the person that wrote the statement or the testimony would be present to actually corroborate that story or that statement. So based on, nobody wants to really come to court if you don't subpoena them. So I don't want to have to subpoena my friends, but there are no rules when it comes to innocence. I have no friends when it comes to innocence. My children are everything in this world to me. Everything. They are all I have unconditionally. And although they may be upset with me because they don't know the real story, and even if they possibly get the real story, they have every right to be angry and upset and withdrawn. But there are clinicians that specialize in those types of family therapeutic intervention. So you cannot tell me as a parent that suffers with mental illness, my children are already genetically predisposed to those things. And because these foster care agencies and these social workers or case planners, because most of them are not licensed, So, a worker is a person that has, the mental health degree. Planner is a person that just has the training. He's shadowed a couple of workers before they threw him in the pit, him or her. And I say that to say this. These seasoned, and I'll say that with all the respect, and I'll let that go with a grain of salt. But these old school case planners, old school social workers, old school foster care agencies, such as, I'll just name one in New York City. We have Catholic Charities, we have Little Flower, we have Heart Share St. Vincent's, and then there's maybe like one or two more. But we don't really have a lot of foster care agencies because we have a lot of foster parents, or we have a lot of kinship that goes on in the state. So speaking of kinship, we just gonna mosey on past the fact that I have requested in writing 6 times, 3 times by email, and twice verbally, once in the face and once over electronic communication. So if I have requested this, I want to say this movement or this placement to be explored, knowing the people that I have suggested or requested to be cleared have been cleared already. You have one, my mom, she's an educator, doctor of education, PhD in early childhood education. My sister was a former sheriff in her county down south. My other sister is ex military and a licensed social worker with extreme hours and badges. So, and that's my little sister. She has, I want to say the knowledge to assist, myself and my 2 children, in this case. She can really help us mend the estrangement or the separation based on people imposing on things that overstep lines, boundaries. They wear out welcomes, and they do not realize how much unnecessary sadness, uncomfortability, stress, and just ultimate disregard. Nobody knows how much that hurts. It is overwhelming. It is extremely ignored, and it's unlawful. It is unlawful. It is illegal. Whatever way you want to look at it, that is what it is. You cannot, tell me I am unfit as a parent because I am diagnosed as being bipolar. But you turn around and tell me I have all the authority to make medical, religious, and educational decisions for my children legally. That sounds, again, insane. If everything that I'm doing is in the best interest of my children, what could you possibly think I would actually implement or, initiate into their mental health safety plan? I mean, mental health treatment plan. But we're going to put a pin in that and come back to it. There are certain things also, foster parents, foster care agencies, social workers, and even possibly judges sometimes. They cannot override your authority when it comes to implementing therapeutic psychotropic medication. Based on the adverse side effects, there are many contraindications if a child is on something other than psychotropes and they're on medical medication, medical prescriptions, and no clinician is talking to the other as far as therapists and psychiatrists, as opposed to, the dean at the school, the guidance counselor, the principal. All of these things are addressed, but then they turn and they give me the same look as though I said nothing, but yet my voice seems to always be important during family team conferences, but my voice is never important when it is not acknowledged in the best interest of my children. These people ruin you. They are definitely the spawns of Satan. They try to impose unnecessary stress in a already strenuous and traumatic situation. And then when you ask questions, it seems like you're annoying them for them to do their job. Or they take so long and drag their asses and drag their feet that by the time they do get to you, the service is either not afforded to you anymore or it is overbooked. But yet you still have to maintain that level of calmness, peacefulness, because you knew, as the person that puts certain things in place, you cannot honestly, respectfully say something like that to me personally. You cannot tell me, I lose touch. No, Miss K, you tend to lose touch with reality and cause unnecessary trauma. I've seen that a couple of times just today. So my whole thing is, if a parent wasn't as strong as myself, if they didn't get to the point where they finally were heard by somebody unbelievably not inserted in this situation whatsoever, but has no problem walking side by side with you as though you were one, to assist you in something that could be beautiful and definitely historical. Anything that is worth fighting for is worth fighting for. Anything that is easy to fight, yeah, there's worth, it's worthy, or it has, it is worth something. But if there is no supply or there is no demand for certain things, don't waste your time and just staying stuck. Learn how to be uncomfortable in comfortable places. Learn uncomfortability in comfortable places. Because no matter where I go, I always carry a white shirt and I make the best of it. Because you have to think about things as a whole. I know I sounded like I jumped around just now, but I'm saying that to say this. Everybody analyzes things differently. Everybody has their own way of breaking down understanding, misunderstanding, and logic. Me, I mostly move with logic. I mostly move with, probabilities or the pros and the cons or, the goods and the bads. because I feel like at the end of the day, you'll get more goods than bads. You just have to know to not give up. And if my kids can see anything on YouTube because they're not supposed to be watching it, it's censored. But it hasn't been censored, I guess, for almost 2 years because I can see when my history has been, altered as far as somebody watching it on my profile. This foster parent does not she does not provide any type of I don't feel like the supervision is adequate based on my children watching pornography on their school tablets. But there's no reprimand for that. There's no transfer placement. There is nothing that penalizes anybody, but it definitely screws me over wholeheartedly. So I know I got off topic a little bit, but I just wanted to let that be known while I set the pace and just give you a little insight of how Monday was very hard. Even Tuesday was even harder. And I didn't know that CPS could put you in a position to mentally decline. And then when these things are exhibit these things are illustrated, or these things are actually viewed from another person's perspective or another person's point of view, nobody is perfect except our little humans. Anything and everything that we do for them, with them, and because of them, it will never, never, never go unnoticed. But I have to make sure my children alone see that they don't they're not in trouble about anything. The only thing I would have changed in my whole situation with CPS is that next time I would allow my children to change their clothes. And I I just it's a lot. Like, I'm starting to suffer with migraines, but CPS does not have any disregard for that. Yet they want to know every appointment you're going to, what it's for, what they prescribed, is it consistent, is it something that is fatal or terminal, and is there a time frame? It's like they ask so many inconsiderate questions just by the presentation, just by the delivery. Everything that is worth everything is sitting right in front of me. And I say that as far as, again, my children live 10 minutes up the road. If I was the old me, it would have not I would have not thought about it and used my treatment plan and coping skills that I've learned in this case, because CPS will pull you through the ringer. They will destroy anything and everything that is worth something, whether it's bringing them up in the lifestyle or accommodating them financially with the lifestyle. Like, it's just a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss, and there's nothing we as parents can do all the time, but we can do as many times as we need to. And I really don't understand why it would be that easy to not allow a birth parent, not allow a actual real mother and father to see their child if you are present, and there is no safety issue, there is no danger, there's no imminent risk, there are no unnecessary triggers or safety concerns, to give my children a hug, just to let them know I love them. And this was my daughter's 10th birthday. That's a milestone. And it's very hard for me because I did not get to celebrate my other child's 10th birthday. And everybody who is anybody that does not belong in this case, they get the most leniency as far as being heard or taking, my ideas into consideration, just not knowing it was me who conveyed it. So, I'm in a different place today. And I say that because, in recovery, they call them the efforts. When you get a case of the efforts, and you know what the profane word is. Excuse me, one second. Sorry about that. But I do have a case of the efforts. Not because I want to be, physically combative, but because certain things that were addressed prior to this placement, and it was said in the other placement where my children were not comfortable. They were not, seeing they were not seeing eye to eye with the person that had the back. So, it's different. It's different. It's different to hear nothing in this house. Nothing is a sound. I didn't know that until I found out. So although it may be quiet as far as movement and noise, but sound will always be heard. So I feel like I am a part of that sound barrier once I'm heard. And I just need, a lot of a lot of lessons that will help me get even a portion of, you know, what Mr. Davis has to offer. Every day that, you know, I go through something, I try, like I said, I try to make every day either productive or resourceful. So if I can't get it done myself and I can reach out to various people who have, other triangulated, vendors or supply men or women, because this has to stay, covered up. Because who knows what type of destruction it could cause. And I know I've been doing a lot of, looking up for my words or, trying to gather my thoughts before I speak articulately so it does not sound like I'm stuttering or I am, exhausted to the point where I cannot work. That's never the case. I mean, I'm fast. I clean most of the stuff and that's what it is. But I think I went to another topic just now. So I'm like, I think I swayed over. But I'm a mom. I'm a mom, 25/8. I'm a mom when I don't feel good. I'm a mom when I'm working overtime. I'm a mom when I am doing birthday parties or homework or a parent teacher conference. I am a mom all the time. Seven, I'm sorry, 25/8, 7/24, 24/7, all the time. Anything and everything. Innocence is worth the fight every time. Every time. But now let's talk about my 12-year-old who is now a full blown diabetic based on people not listening to situations that make her predisposed to autoimmune disease based on it being genetic. So it's a lose-lose situation, and it was never the case for me to place stalker on her medical chart. But again, I'm also a disabled medical professional. So it's like I wear many hats, but yet nobody wants to give me the access or the acknowledgement that basically bust my behind for. And although my CPS history is off and on for the last 11 and a half, maybe 12 years now, it is different every time. Each time that this happens, whether you're home or you're not home, it implements danger and it messes with people's way of life. So even though my child was the one playing the piano, it it didn't feel the same. It didn't feel the same. It felt like I was missing a part of me, and I technically was. because I have never spent a birthday without them, with the exception of these last 2 years. My children got with this foster parent April 10th of 23, and been with her ever since. And again, I'm not saying that, you know, I have a problem with her, but I do have a problem with her. I'm friends with her son, and although we are damn near the same age, things just may have been a little harder for her. So when it comes to my 12-year-old, she that little girl, and I know how she feels. I know how she feels, and I understand. I just want her to just hear me out. You know, Myself and my children, I used to conduct encounter groups. Everyone used to tell me, I gave them too much of a voice or not enough voice. So I implemented encounter groups also, because once somebody pulls you up on something that you shouldn't have been doing, you can either deny, agree, or rectify it. And it's up to you. Like, I feel like I got a lot going on these days. I feel like, it is a constant tug of war, a constant thunderstorm, and there is no rainbow at the end of the tunnel. It's just exhaustion. Exhaustion. This process is debilitating. Debilitating to the point where it will make you crawl up into the fetal position. You don't have to, like Mr. Davis said again, you don't have to use the big missiles or the big rockets to make things, work in your favor. If you are right, although they may have not noticed it, the night before, the night, or the night that night, but you know where you put certain things, and you know what you come back to. So it's a lose-lose situation. If you put something in the locker, it's possibly, bad. If you don't put something in the locker, like, it's nothing is what it seems. And I think it's very unfair that certain people get leniency, or basically inside jobs where he might do. Everything just might work out. But I know the upcoming court date is July 17th, which is also, my dad's my dad's birthday is July 17th as well. He's no longer with us, but he still remembered. Now, as far as my 8-year-old using this bathroom, she is all over the place. She's like, it's fun to see them in their element, because I haven't seen it for so long. So when I see them running, down the block from the school or whatever, because I can't have interaction with them, but they're holding, you know, pictures of me in a therapeutic setting. So I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know how long I have, whether it is until the case is over when we go to TPR on the 17th, or because I um I might have ignored something that they said, but I have to follow up with that when I get off of here. I wasn't even thinking about that. And I'm just super duper overwhelmed. I am just taking it day by day in stride. That's all I can do, because if I allow this disregard for, my rights, the disregard for my authority or my legal input or insight, you don't get to. Let me just say this before I sign off for tonight. Nobody can tell you what emotion to feel. Nobody can tell you you look like this, although it sounds like it goes together. You don't know this or you don't know that, but they leave a bunch of little piles on the floor all over the place, and you have to just make it do what it do. But I mean, if there's anyone that would like to be a guest on my show, it's on Monday nights at 8 p.m. YouTube StreamYard or Facebook Live. I didn't even go to Facebook. But Like I'm trying to go back and get back on my truck. That's not happening. I try to work a part-time job because I'm not a person that just sits in the house and does nothing. I get bored with being bored. So I'm just like, you didn't see any steakums or anything. Like, oh, I don't even know why I said that. I think I just like zoned out for a second. But I say that to say this. If you would like to be a guest on my show on Monday, reach out to Grace, our producer, or reach out to Attorney Vincent Davis's offices. The number is at the bottom of the screen, the 888-888-6582. There is somebody there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to either, send you a link to become a guest and tell your maniacal story, or you can, reach out to me at KK Richardson either on Facebook or at YouTube StreamYard. So I have about 10 minutes left, but again, my message is always conveyed possibly a little earlier than I anticipate. So I'll just, again, Attorney Vincent Davis, he specializes in a bunch of different kinds of law. There's CPS law, there is criminal law, and there is, I think, dependency, if I'm not mistaken, or a civil rights lawyer. But I say that to say this: these things that could have possibly, you know, halted his advancement, he didn't allow certain people to tell him no. Even when social workers are now being paid to show you how you either beat Mr. Davis or you don't retain him. And I'm sorry, I think that has to do a lot with jealousy because he gets the job done and he's amazing. I've watched a couple of proceedings with him there, and it's just like watching like I can't say Perry Mason because he's much better, but I cannot wait to see that man. I want a courtroom watch in the real, and I'm trying to get to California so bad. One, I need the sun for these bones, and two, I want to shake Mr. Davis's hand officially and let him know how thankful I am for giving me this voice. How thankful I am that there are other parents that reach out to let their message be heard. And we have to get all of the humans home. Innocence is worth it, you know? So again, Attorney Vincent Davis has a birthday today, y'all. I know he's probably gonna curse me out because it's like the third time I said it, but I'm excited for him. I want to know what kind of cake he had because he had ice cream another time. You think I didn't know? But another year wiser, another year stronger, another year, you know, informed and reformed. Life is what you make of it. Life be life in, and don't let life get the best of you. But you have to keep the fight, make the fight infinite to the point where the exhaustion and the burnout comes from you being a parent and nothing more and nothing less. Because I refuse to take the bare minimum when I know as a mother, a woman, and a human being, innocence is extremely worth anything and everything that has love, emotion, or understanding behind it. And people just need to realize everyone's love is not the same. Everyone's, reciprocation is not the same. It's just, it should never be a system of a tit for tat or you do for me, I do for you. Like everything does not always have to be corroboratively equal or fair or the same. Because I think that was what major synonym was used. I tried to get out. Mm-mm-mm. I just, I had to pull my thoughts in just now for a second, and I'm having a little bit, of a situation, but that's for another day, and I will definitely let you parents know, mental health, medical issues, the psychological warfare, the physical exertion. I'm tired right now, and I've only been on here for 55 minutes. But, I'm not saying that, I'm tired of, being my children's and any other child's, you know, um, their conduit or their way to be safe in a mixed situation. Because not everybody's case is the same, but ultimately the context overall means the same. It's either neglect, abuse, maltreatment, or a, it's one more. I'll eventually bring it back up. But I do want to say again, I have about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to go take that with a grain of salt. And just keep in mind, we are here every Monday, faithfully. And there are other platforms that you can search to get extreme, extremely, extremely well informed information from the various groups, sites, and channels that Mr. Davis allows you to become a part of. He has a school that's spelled SKOOL, and you will get some delightning information over there. You can learn how to file your own motions, your own writs, your own petitions, things like that. The only one I would not advise, or I should say the only two I would not advise anyone to do for themselves is the 388 petition or the 1028 petition, where you can fight with the children back in your care, back in your home under supervision with a less restrictive alternative to removal. So if you both are kind of tall, you need to share. So I say that to say this. Again, every Monday, I am here on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. I am Miss K, and this is Manic Mondays with Miss K on Attorney Vincent Davis's platform. Parents, don't ever stop fighting. Our innocence is worth it. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed Monday. Peace and blessings. Grace?